All right, everybody. I am here today joined by my friend Ethan, who goes by RK online, though I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself and shout yourself out, because I think you might be getting into making content pretty soon.
Yeah, you want me to. Hey, my name is Ethan, otherwise known as RK Online. I'm not sure what I'd be doing for content, but I'm starting with a debate, unfortunately. But yeah.
Well, this isn't a debate, but we're going to be doing one.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing one later, and I'm going to be reacting to it because I think it's going to be really funny. Because I've seen you debate, and I really want to see. I think the world needs to see you debate President Sunday. I think the world needs to see it.
Oh God, we'll see. All right. Excited for this video though, because this should be the end of like the completionist drama, right? Like I can't see where else this goes, right?
I really don't know. Do you want to give like a little bit of like a background on this?
I'm not going to be the best source on it, but my understanding is that the Completionist has been running charities for about 10 years. It was recently found out, and Mudahar and who's the other person? Carl Jobst made a call out that none of that money had ever actually left the account. Now, it wasn't spent, but it never left the account, which is shady as shit. And the Completionist, I believe recently, like very recently, just donated it all, but that raises the question about like, what about the shit ton of interest all of that money would have been making? You know, like what's going on with this? Why did you do this to begin with? And was it only donated because you were caught, you know?
Yep. And of course now, the Completionist, after quite some time, has finally broken his silence with a video called My Response. I have not seen it yet, but based on the evidence I've seen so far, it's really shifty on whether or not, like, basically we don't have time to watch both videos, and so we have this option of, do we watch Muda's response, or do we watch the Completionist response? Now, I'll watch the Completionist response on its own in my own free time, because I'm going to do that, and I want to, and I think for impartiality, it's fair for me to do so too, but based on the evidence we've seen now, I think it's probably best to see how Muda responds to the Completionist's response, and see if Muda's response is compelling.
Yeah.
So, let's check it out. Here we go.
And gentlemen, yesterday, Gerard, also known as a completionist, made a 20-minute response yesterday in response to the Open Hand Foundation situation, where he threatened a potential lawsuit against me. He questioned my reporting, my character, and made severely contradictory statements in this response alone. If you see me reading, it's because I actually have a full prepared script, because these are, again, incredibly serious situations, and I want to make sure that I explain our side, my side, to the best of my ability. So to understand, what I'm addressing is very serious, okay? This is not drama, this is not a joke, these are all very serious situations. Now, in this entire response that he made, he basically admitted that the organization held on to the donation money that they were raising over the course of the last several years. It wasn't okay, and they finally donated less than a month ago as of the upload of this video.
Oh, actually, this would be a good time to explain our background with doing charity stuff with Thankmas for Hightail community. Do you want to give like the background?
Yeah. So like, I forget how many years ago it was. I was talking to, I think it was Violet and Connor at the time, two other content creators in like the Hightail space, and I was like, we decided we wanted to do some kind of a community event because we felt we needed a way to like make the community feel like a bunch of more than just a bunch of disjointed YouTubers about the same topic, and instead make it feel like a community. So we decided we were going to make Thankmas, which was based off of Jacksepticeye's charity stream thing he runs, where he runs a charity stream, donates it all, and then he has a bunch of other like streamers who run with his platform and donates it all. And the way that we did charity streams was that we never touched the money. It went directly to the charity, and it would tally up how much went directly through our links and whatnot. Like, the idea of doing a charity where the money is sent directly to you is weird. I'm sure there's times where it works, but like, I really hope that this event makes everyone push for that kind of a format for charity events.
Yeah, I've actually done it before where like I had people donate specifically to me because I wanted to do a charity event for Team C's, and I ended up raising, I think I remember the exact number. I think it was $4,117 I raised for Team C's in one stream, and I had them donate it just through where it would go to my PayPal, because that's what I can like actively like access right away and donate. And then once the stream was done, like obviously the amount donated was on the little bar on this thing, so I donated that amount to Team C's, and then once you've donated, they generate this like PNG image, like a picture that says, "Thank you, like your name that you inserted when filling out the thing for your donation of this amount of money. Team C's, yada yada, and then like I think it had Mr. Beast and Mark Rober's signature on it or something. And then I like copy pasted that, posted on Twitter, and I showed it to chat. And so like they give verification that like you've donated that much directly to the charity, and so that's how I did it, which was right away, literally as soon as like the stream was done, I donated the money.
Yeah. I just don't see the point in holding it. All right, let's play it.
Yeah, his claim, from what I remember, was that they were still trying to find the right charity to work with, but he's also gone on record listing charities that they've quote-unquote worked with that they never did. So it's like, contradiction.
During several recent Indieland events, press interviews, and podcasts, I went on record saying where the money was going to and that the Open Hand Foundation had worked with various organizations. At different points, the foundation had been in communication with or considered several of them, but it was not appropriate for me to make such statements when final actions had not yet been taken. The Open Hand Foundation's goal was to make a large impact by donating the money to the right place. And a lot of the conversations that were had with various organizations involved the funds not being restricted or came with extremely high administrative costs. Look, any way you say this, action needed to be taken. And to that point, I'm sorry. I'm disappointed that I was not more straightforward.
So one of the big claims here is that he wanted to make sure the donation was something called an unrestricted or a restricted donation. So a restricted donation is one where the donator is in charge of exactly where within the charity the money is going. Because when you donate an unrestricted donation, which is like your normal non-negotiated donation, you don't know where the money's going exactly within the charity. It could go to paying CEOs, it could go to actually the research you want it to do or whatever cause you're trying to fight for, but there's no actual guarantee that's where the money's going. With a restricted donation, you can say this is exactly where I want the charity to use the money, which is ideal, and this is what we wanted. However, it does not take this long at all to make a restricted donation like this. It does not take a decade. He could have done this literally every single year, made a big restricted donation to these charities, and it would have been no skin off of his teeth. The only reason the money got donated was because Muda and Carl made it public.
Yeah. I just don't... Okay, so you could probably maybe make an argument of like 2 years of the charity or something being like searching if you're really stretching shit. How do you argue there's any universe where he should have kept it for a decade? Like at a certain point he would just have to cut his losses and make a donation anyway. If his argument was just, well, I just needed to find the right charities, like a decade. Come on.
Yeah, at a certain point you just ask your audience, like, what charity should I donate
literally.
to?
And why wasn't this something he discussed with his audience? If I was in a situation where I felt I needed to hold on to a shit ton of money that I didn't have the right to and I didn't feel comfortable with it, I would be actively asking the people who gave me the money, how should I use it? Like, I don't know. It just feels like in the best case scenario, he had no conscience during any of this.
Yeah, no, and you know what's weird to me? The idea that for 10 years this would go under his nose. Like, when I donate to charity, I want to, like, stare at that, like, balance I donated and be like, yeah, that's going somewhere good. Like, I want to see that happen. I'm not okay with someone just saying, oh, yeah, I donated. I want to make sure. I want to see. I want to be able to know with my eyes that money went to somewhere. And I can't imagine, if that was like truly his goal was for the money to be donated, that he would have been okay with just never having seen the money was donated. Like, he claims he doesn't know, but like for 10 years, you've never once verified the money was getting donated from multiple charity drives you run, both Indieland and the Gulf Drive.
God.
Indieland's been going for like 6 years, and the Gulf Drive's been running for like 10, and is run by like the company that his dad runs.
What wasn't there something about not this is speculation from a person who's uninformed as preference. Wasn't there some speculation that this might be a family scam or something because his father ran the golf one, and that's also unaccounted for?
That's the thought as well, especially because his family's so involved, and on top of that, it's all in the name of his like mom, who supposedly died from the disease they're raising money for.
Yeah. So weird.
If this all ends up being like a massive fucking conspiracy of some kind, and all the worst possibilities end up being true, Gerard's like an actual monster, and so is everyone in his family.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, beyond irredeemable.
All right, we should probably play Muda's video, though.
Regarding
Yeah.
the foundation's timeline for making donations, and that I made statements potentially implying donations were made when they had not yet been. It took too long for clear action to occur, and I apologize for all of this.
Now, I've been pretty vocal about waiting for a response from Gerard, and while I understand legal matters often put a gag into your mouth during incredibly sensitive situations like this, I was pretty surprised to see a response yesterday in general, but what was really wild to me was how some of the individuals, at least on Twitter, and again, I don't use Twitter as an intelligent metric, actually took this as a somewhat exonerating response, when it actually paints more contradictions in...
I'll be quick, but Muda is getting a lot of shit, and so is Carl. Like, people who didn't want the completionist to be in the wrong have taken his response and run with it. And from what I've seen from people that I know are reasonable and have seen the response from the completionist, it is not compelling. And it's upsetting to me that people's bias to want to forgive him right away means that they will take even the most shoddy response. Just there being a response is enough for them to say, it was wrong for Muda and Carl to have ever called this out in the first place. That really bothers me.
Yeah. Because like in like the worst case scenario, in like the worst case scenario, or like the best case scenario, I mean, where the completionist actually did nothing wrong and this is all like a big misunderstanding and he really did intend to give away that money, he should still be questioned on that. In like the best case scenario, why is that 600,000 still there? You know, so I don't understand how you could at all be mad at Carl or Muda in any situation. It's unreasonable.
Yeah, I just noticed, Muda has some pretty good facial hair. You notice how I've got, like, all these patches that need to fill in? Muda's is all filled in.
I'm not used to you having, like, much of a beard at all, to be honest with you. Like, I logged into the stream earlier with Boari and some of our other buddies. Kevils, you have no friends, by the way. And immediately it's like, holy shit, Zan has a beard. Because we haven't seen you on cam for a little bit.
I did no shave November. That's why. I didn't shave all of November.
Makes sense.
I haven't shaved yet. I'm probably gonna, like, just not shave all the way until January 1st. And I'll, like, maybe until the end of winter. Like, once it's, like, warming up is when I'll shave. Because I was walking to the dispensary the other day, and, like, the facial hair actually kind of kept my face a little warmer.
Nice.
It's kind of a boost.
So I'm here to offer my response to Gerard's response with receipts, something that I personally believe Gerard did not do at all in his video. I never saw one bank statement, never saw one evidence of money flow. It was an entire story of me just taking him at his word, which I will once again prove in this video that you cannot take Gerard at his word. He is proven to be somebody that is deceptive. So let me explain exactly how this works. Gerard provided receipts in his...
I would argue the most deceptive thing I can think of is the fact that he's multiple times claimed a list of organizations they worked with, when in reality, up until this donation, they'd worked with none.
His video, okay? If you look at the description to his... If you look carefully into the description, one thing you'll notice is it's mostly just links to the AFDD website, the IRS, and various definition websites when it comes to these specific donations, or I guess definitions of a restricted or an unrestricted donation, or how the IRS determines differences between private and public foundations. There are only 4 actual pieces of evidence provided by Gerard in these Google Drive links that are a autopsy report regarding his late mother, which honestly had no reason to come out. You've got a OHF termination of private status letter. You've got one letter that I guess, at least to me, looks like a continuance or something, which we'll get into, and an OHF audit letter by the IRS. So we're going to look into each 4 of these pieces of evidence and see just how much new information and clarification and transparency that they really provide. Let's go. So I opened up this letter over here and I read this very carefully, okay? So this is from the Internal Revenue Service, where basically they have a Dear Applicant. The applicant is Open Hand Foundation. We've received your notification of intent to terminate your private foundation under the IRC Section 507B1B during the 60-month period listed at the top of the letter. That 60-month period is starting from January 1st, 2016, and it ends December 31st, 2020. So again, in this situation, we're going to read all of it because this video will be long, but I'm going to fill it with as many receipts and contradictions as I reasonably can. This letter could help resolve questions on your foundation status. Please keep it for your records. I wish we saw this letter more than 24 hours ago. I wish this letter was posted on the Open Hand Foundation's website, a website that still does not have the AFTD, a website they gave $600,000 to over a week ago, listed in their beneficiaries. This is a website that should have had this information plastered. If your golf event can have your tax ID letter easily accessible, this information should have been posted for me and anybody researching this to logically assess. Then I wouldn't even have to question your private and public charity. In his response video, he really touched upon that point when it wasn't really even that massive of a point. All right, I noticed that they probably should be filing a 990 form, a 990 EZ, because they are a public charity, right? That is what they want to go as.
Dude, running a charity, is so complicated tax-wise. I don't believe that they could have just had somebody filing this shit on their own. They had to have been paying an accountant, right? Like, unless someone in the family... You know what? Usually companies have accountants. The dad runs a company. Maybe their books were getting cooked by some accountant or that they have at the company that his dad owns. I'm making very severe allegations here, but like
very severe.
I'm just theorizing. I'm making these. This is all fiction, science fiction.
Claims have no grounds.
No grounds. We're just theorizing. Just saying.
Why would they continue to file a form, the 990PF, if they're no longer a exempt private foundation? And again, this letter, if I saw it, I would have just believed them. I would have been like, all right, it makes sense. You asked for a notice of change. And the IRS listened to it. They even said, based on your proposed activities and support, we agree you can terminate your private foundation status. Literally, you told them that you wanted to run Indieland, I assume, at a lot of these events. And they were like, sure, if that's how you want to run it, then you're not a private foundation. You're a public one. So they even say within 90 days after the end of your 60-month period, you must show you've met the requirements as a public charity described in IRC section 509A 1, 2, or 3 for the 60-month period. If you show this, you'll be classified under that section for all purposes from the beginning of the 60-month period and thereafter. Gerard refers to the last section of this video, this letter, where he writes, you're required to file Form 990PF, Return of Private Foundation, or Section 4947A1 Trust, treated as private foundation until you complete your 60-month termination and are classified as a public charity.
In March of 2016, the IRS acknowledged the receipt for termination of private status and indicated to the Open Hand Foundation the necessary requirements the foundation must follow in order to comply with the IRS code. A copy of those notices are also down below with supporting IRS documentation. Further, based on the acknowledgement of the private status termination, the foundation was now required to operate like a public charity as described in the IRS code for a period of 60 months. However, the foundation was also instructed to continue to file as if it were a private foundation. Any possible issues pertaining to such filings can only be considered clerical errors and are in no way intended to be misleading, fraudulent, or criminal in any nature.
Now, to understand, this actually adds even more questions to the situation. If your period ended December 31st, 2020, when you looked at the years 2021 and again 2022, according to their public filings here, right, that we have, what is seen over here is that this is still a 990PF form, which again...
What it feels like is we and the average, consumer of this content don't have enough accounting knowledge to know what kind of documentation Gerard should have to produce to prove that he is in the right here. And so he's basically dumped a big list of links that, from what I can tell by what Mood is saying, is pretty much irrelevant to proving his innocence or not. It's basically just a bunch of IRS forms that say, yeah, okay, you run a charity according to what you report. None of it is actually the IRS verifying anything by what I've seen so far, at least.
It's the legal to layman version of Gish galloping. He's saying a bunch of shit just to sound like he's correct. To anyone who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about or aren't familiar. I'm not super familiar with charity shit and running my own charity. There's a reason when I do charity shit, I run through someone else's thing. So I'm not all this confident with that. He's entirely banking on there being less and less people following this what's it called? Following this controversy as each response video is made, and that he saves his reputation with that. The people going, okay, that's good enough, and not looking any further into it because they think it's a done deal.
Yeah, kind of basically trying to pull a Lance situation where it's like, he responds to me pretending like I criticized him for something I didn't, because the thing I did criticize him for, if exposed to his audience, would lose him so many subs because, you know, he was attacking the people that Illuminati fucked over, and he never apologized for it, deleted the video, hid from it, and he made a response to attack me and pretend like that wasn't what I criticized him for. And he's basically been able to get away with it and move on from it without ever facing accountability from it. But I've been told thank you for holding him to account from it, for that stuff from people that were involved with that.
Can confirm. Ugh.
Yeah, Ethan knows who, but don't say Ethan.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't want them to get harassed or have to get pulled in any drama. Anyway, we'll resume.
And according to the Internal Revenue Service, when you look at the annual filings and forms, I wish you put this link into your actual YouTube description. This would be important, Gerard. I feel like most people should be reading this. When you go to which form should I use? By going to this, they list numerous forms. The 990PF, which is for private foundations, but importantly, the 990, the 990EZ, and the 990N. Again, reading into who should file the Form 990. So one of the tips that the IRS has given, ooh, they're going tip crazy here. A public charity described under Section 170B1A4 that isn't within...
Dude, I love bureaucracy, dude. Look at this shit. Look at this. 170B1A4. 170B1A4. Or is this 6? 6, yeah.
6.
And so it's number, parenthesis, letter, parenthesis, number, parenthesis, uppercase letter, parenthesis, Roman numeral, because they have so many different, like, they have to have, like, a long enough chain to create, like, it's just, I love bureaucracy, dude. It's fucking crazy. How does this shit hold together?
I think it'd actually be really nice to like see a content creator whose focus on content is turning shit like this into really easily readable to the layman, like giving like 170B1A4 like a temporary name for explaining it. I think that would go hard as fuck.
Yeah, I'm really bad with Roman numerals. I don't know, like, dude, I went to school in this time where they didn't teach us cursive and they didn't teach us how to type, and they didn't teach us Roman numerals.
I'm good with Roman numerals. I can't speak. I'm great with Roman numerals. The issue is that they have really fucking terrible at a glance like readability, like terrible. Like you at a glance read the difference between like 7 and 8 quickly. You know, it doesn't have the same flow as like any other type of lettering whatsoever. It's like I and I. It's just too close.
Yeah. Like, I think 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 4 can work, but once we... And 5 obviously works, but once we start getting into 6 and 4 can be pretty easy to mix up, and then we're just getting crazy at that point. I don't even know, man. It gets crazy.
In its initial 5 years of existence, should first complete Part 2 or 3 of Schedule A, Form 990, to ensure that it continues to qualify as a public charity for the tax year. If it fails to qualify as a public charity, then it must file for a Form 990PF rather than a Form 990 or a Form 990EZ. So again, even looking into their letter that Gerard graciously provided, the 60-day period was from 2016 to 2020. Looking at the tax filings for 2016, 2017, 2018, one thing that isn't checked here, at least, is if the foundation is in a 60-month termination under Section 507B1B, check here. This is in 2016. You can see that in 2017 even, that tick wasn't filed. In 2018, that tick also wasn't filed. However, looking at the letter that Gerard provided, dear applicant, we received your notification of intent to terminate your private foundation status under IRC Section 507B1B during the 60-month period listed at the top of this letter. So even within that 60-month termination period under Section 507B1B, This box wasn't ticked. So why wasn't this done again? And why wasn't in 2021 and 2022 these forms weren't filed under a standard 990 or a 990 EZ? Unless, of course, they went back to this private foundation designation and they're filing under this. Again, Gerard mentions something known as clerical errors, like, hey, there's nothing malicious about anything. These are just clerical errors. I want to remind you that this whole investigation...
Dude, there's no such thing as a non-issue clerical error when it comes to tax documentation. It's the fucking IRS. They don't fuck around. They've got helicopters and a police force. Like,
yeah, you want to know another thing? If I'm putting any of my fucking money into a charity, they better not have any clerical errors. Like, how does you having clerical errors absolve you of any of the problems? Like, you still shouldn't fucking handle charity money at all.
Yeah, like, well, the IRS is known for being forgiving. Like, if you actually intend to pay them off, they're not gonna put you in prison.
The IRS doesn't want to put you in jail. They want you to pay them, right?
Yeah.
So if you can be like, oh, I'll fix it, they don't
like
care.
any
They
mob
just don't
boss,
care, as long as you fix it.
like any mob boss,
Literally.
right? Yeah, like any criminal, they want you to pay them. They don't want to just end up putting you in the hospital so you can't pay them. You know, it's that thought process, right? But if you lie on your taxes or even make a mistake, there's wiggle room to say, oh, I made a mistake, let me refile. But you really don't want to get into a position where you have to ask to refile because you made a mistake. Like, you're better off, paying them more than you need to than less, because, like, if you pay less, if you underreport, then yeah.
Misfiling your taxes is something that should occasionally happen with, like, the layman, not a fucking company. God forbid a charity, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that shit just shouldn't happen with a company.
And it is complicated. I'm not going to deny that. And it purposefully is. That's because, like, things like TurboTax have specifically lobbied government officials to make it so that our taxes aren't just done for us. Like, as in they're just not just, like, taken out of our checks automatically from our jobs, and then, like, we don't worry about having to do our taxes. Because these companies want people to be intimidated by it and not want to, you know, maybe they make a mistake and go to prison. So they pay a company to do it for them, and those companies rely on people needing someone else to do their taxes. If the government does it for you, then they go out of business. So they're lobbying to keep themselves in business, and it means we all get fucked. But I don't think that's the case here, where there was just some clerical error. That's a cop-out. He's used a million excuses. How are there this many excuses for how this happened? It doesn't make sense, right, Ethan? Like, doesn't it come off as like it's just a child in the cornered trying to come up with excuses for why they? I don't know.
It is. How many things can I say that sound mildly like, oh, I could see that to the layman, and if I can do as many of those as possible, my arguments will sound like really fucking good. Like, look at how much evidence and reasoning he gave when none of it is definitive whatsoever.
Yeah, God, this is sad. I really like Gerard.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
Was built upon looking at these various clerical errors. And again, the IRS, when I ask them to investigate or audit, it's not because of any malfeasance that I'm immediately, like, out of my investigation. It's me looking at these filings and asking even the IRS how they managed to let this go unchecked for so long. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in this entire situation, one thing I want to acknowledge now is the audit. Now, the audit was never the
why he
smoking
doesn't
gun
face the
during
camera
this
that
video.
way.
And you might be like, whoa, what are you talking about, Muda? An audit literally exists to prove if you've got money sitting in an account. As of a week ago, roughly, the Open Hand Foundation donated
I was making fun of him. I was making fun of the camera in the background.
$600 to the AFTD Foundation. Now remember, if you look through
his
the entire
exposure
original investigations, even if you look into the very recent pieces where we looked into their golf revenues, Twitch revenues, Indieland revenues, the question that I was raising to the table is that, honestly, I just need to see if the revenues all match up. There's no accusations of embezzlement as much as Gerard would like to mention. It's just more me trying to actually get some answers. Remember, charities are supposed to be open books, and they're supposed to itemize everything imaginable. The moment when you have buckets just listed as expenses and whatnot, the reason why an audit is asked for is just to make sure that that information is above board and it's all there.
We believe we're done with selfish intent. They have directly jeopardized the safety of me, my staff, and my family, and that is not okay. I want to reiterate and specifically address that both the Foundation and I have been accused of...
The certified gaming accountant, okay.
Okay, hold on real quick. To talk about Gerard's, like, approach there, I don't fucking care that you feel, like, upset about this. this should happen regardless of if you're innocent or not, because your donators, like all the people who have donated to you, absolutely deserve to know how, where, when their money's being spent, and why. Like, this isn't something you have the right to be upset about when you've not provided that, and people go out of their way to ask for it. It's entirely your fault. No one has attacked him. He's seeing what happens whenever you fuck up a charity. Like, why is he acting like he's being like villainized or something? This is basic shit that every charity should expect to face at one point or another.
Yeah, and an IRS audit isn't like the end of the world if everything is above board. So
yeah, like,
why is he playing the victim? Like, an IRS audit, if that happens and everything's above board, that exonerates him. Why is he playing the victim? Like, he can play the victim once he's exonerated, right?
This is just a case of I'm getting mad that I have to answer for shit. Like if I was in a situation where someone was accusing me of misconduct with a like a charity, and I had an IRS audit, that would be relieving, because that now it's immediately not something in like the words of like YouTubers or people who aren't professionals. The IRS is going to audit me, it's going to get fixed, and I move on with my life, and then I look great. Then I look so fucking great, right? Because then I can go back to all those YouTubers who are fucking with me, and even though I don't think he should do this, I can play off that, right? Like there's no universe where he should be getting upset about this. It just doesn't make sense unless he's doing something sketchy with the money. That's the only situation that can be happening here.
Yeah. Apparently, Destiny liked the Daily Wire movie Lady Ballers grade DHD, so I imagine.
Well, Destiny's got to be a contrarian as much as he can.
Yeah.
I doubt he even fucking liked that. He just knows it pisses off the people he doesn't like.
Based on what I heard him say, I just like randomly saw his review pop up, and I was like, no shot. All right, well, I don't know what happens in the movie. I might as well hear what Destiny said. And it was like, dude, honestly, it wasn't that bad. Like, the comedic timing was good, and like they did a good job of integrating the Daily Wire people. I was like, Jesus Christ. He said it was like good at doing what it was supposed to do, not like it wasn't a good movie, but it was good at doing what it was intended to do.
Okay. I have to see a review from someone who isn't like a total sociopath at some point, so I can actually take their word for it.
The Critical Drinker was harsher on it than Destiny. Yeah, I wonder if, like, because I saw in the comments, I was curious because I read the comments, like, are conservatives getting a little bit fed up? Because, like, I have to imagine that a bit of conservatives making fun of the message when they refer to, like, progressive messaging in media, like, I have to imagine that they see the same thing with conservative messaging, and when it gets a little too oversaturated, it starts to become as cringy as it does to us. And that was a point that Destiny made in that video, so I read the comments to see if there were any conservatives that agreed, and there were actually a fair amount that did. So I wonder if conservatives are actually starting to get, like, even the ones that do the grift are starting to get a little bit, like, fed up on the constant repeating of the same jokes.
Living in Texas and whatnot, knowing a shit ton of conservatives, most of the conservatives I've spoken to, whenever like topics like I know a lot of people online, and so occasionally I talk to like people in my family and whatnot about like figures I know, and a lot of the times it's not even all that negative on leftist figures, and on like figures on the right, like and a good example is Ben Shapiro. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I like the guy overall, but I think he's so online, or I think he says a lot of dumb shit sometimes when he should just focus on the real issues," like. That's been a critique I've seen more and more in my day-to-day life surrounded by conservatives here in Texas. So it doesn't surprise me at all that that'd be how that would be received.
Yeah. I feel like the left could really get sidetracked, but I feel like the left would bring so many people over if it was a little more open to legal pro-gun ownership.
Oh God, no, we will get sunlocked. Yeah. I've only got 9 more minutes till my thing starts, so we gotta watch.
Yeah, let's wrap up our segment here.
Forgery, embezzlement, and charity fraud. The allegations implied the foundation forged tax returns because they weren't physical signatures on them when we e-filed them, or that we altered numbers to hide income or expenses.
That holds weight, though. That part, the underreporting part, is there, like, the math didn't math. That was proven. Oh. That was proven. The math did not math for the prior years. I'm not talking about this year, because this year isn't finished. The return isn't filed yet for 23, because 23 is not over.
Got into April.
We're talking about prior years. The math for prior years doesn't math based on reasonable assumptions made by calculating the price per admission for the golf tournament with related, like they showed the banner, and it was like the diamond level supporters or whatever, which we know cost X amount of dollars. There were this many of them, and like a fourth grader could have done the math and realized there's money missing. So yes, you haven't proven anything about the years where it can be proven with I mean really, really solid. It's still, I say proven. There's very reasonable assumptions based on the information available.
And after they've donated $600,000...
So people think he might have underreported.
Oh.
That's just full-on tax fraud through and through, undeniably.
Like...
That's what that accountant just said, that the math doesn't line up and that money's missing from that balance.
I mean, I don't know what much more to say. Like, the completionist is a fucking fraud, like Chet's saying. Like, the money's been stolen. There's nothing else to it. He can't defend himself, and what lies he can make up, or not even lies, but just like making the truth opaque he can give, right? Like, it's not compelling at all. He said absolutely nothing compelling.
It really does seem like a bit's been skimmed off the top every year, at least. And maybe interest that's also accumulated has been skimmed off. And the math, from what I've seen, does not line up. Because when you consider the Open Hands Foundation, as they've lied, did not work with the golf tournament until I believe it was 2012. I may be wrong, it might be 2010. A lot of money is missing. 10 years worth of money has quite a bit skimmed off of the top because one of the sponsors they claim existed that they were donating to didn't exist until after a certain point, until after almost a decade of that golf charity happening.
I mean, couldn't he be like really, really, really easily caught for fraud in all of this for just having said he's donated the money when it wasn't donated? Like, having said that at all, that's all it takes. Even if all of the money is accounted for, like, if you've not done what you said you were going to do with the money, that's fraud.
It's very possible. It's very, very possible. I don't know. Zan has predicted a lot of stuff that came true, including the end of the writers and actors strike before December. Oh, did I predict that? Oh, cool. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't really think I predict things. I think I just kind of make pretty educated guesses. But like, my gut is really telling me the completionist is in the wrong on this, and that I don't think he meant to necessarily scam people. I think he meant to, like, basically run the charity, probably end up donating the money eventually, but just skim money off the top and have that be a little bit of an extra cushion to his pocket, which is, of course, awful and fraud and a scam. But I think in his mind, he's rationalized it to not being as bad as if he planned to scam all the money. I think that's what he's thinking to himself, and that's how he's justifying it.
It's gotta be.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. The whole thing's massively fucking disappointing.
Did you ever watch Scary Game Squad?
No, I did not.
That was where the completionist, Jesse Cox, a couple other content creators, but I know Completionist and Jesse Cox were two of the main ones, would play through scary games. Their playthrough of Resident Evil 7, so fucking good. It's gonna be hard to rewatch that stuff, you know? Good replacement is Neebs Gaming, though. If anyone's looking for a replacement for that like type of content, Neebs Gaming is one of the best gaming channels there is. Really love their content. So
another really good gaming channel, if you guys just like shit like what's it called, like just friends playing games, like little party game type things, is Stumped. They do good charity work. I can confirm that. Great guys.
Yeah. Oh, and as for charity things that you can go donate to and support right now, the Yogscast every single December raises millions of dollars in their Jingle Jam. They've never had a scandal like this, by the way, because they donate the money publicly and like they've been on the news and shit. The Jingle Jam, they've been doing it for like, I think about a decade now, honestly, and they've already raised over $1 million, I think, at this point. For this year's, and we're only 11 days into the month, but they do it through the whole month of December, just daily all-day streams of raising money for charity and different like milestones and charity goals, and they raise millions every year, every December, and it's really impressive. And they're running it right now if you go to see them on Twitch. So when this video goes up, as long as it's still December 2023, or if it's December of any year, they're probably doing it. So go send some support if you want to donate to a charity. Got anything else to say, Ethan? I feel like besides shouting out Muda.
No, yeah. Fucking Muda's chill as fuck. I like him quite a bit on most topics. I don't think there's really anything else to say about the Completionist. Like, I almost feel like I wouldn't follow any more about it until I hear like a definitive end, because it's like, yeah, he fucked up, definitely. I can't see him being in the right in any way, shape, or form. I think that's it. Like, Muda's cooked his ass.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those things I want to look at like after a month of nothing really developing and be like, okay, so who got the final say in this that had the actual coherent response, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Muda. Go subscribe to Some Ordinary Gamers. Link down below in the description. I'm about to link him in chat, both chats actually. We're not going to watch the full video, obviously, because we don't steal content here on this channel. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. You want to shout yourself out for one last bit, Ethan?
Yeah, my name's RK. Go ahead and go check out my channel. If it's just called RK, at I'm Archaic, like ARKAYIC, and that's all.
Nice. Yeah, Ethan's a good friend of mine. He's getting into content creation, whether he likes it or not. And yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. Have a good one, guys. He's about to do a debate.